You have reached the Geek Elite. Good luck.
In a world where knowledge is king, two men will strive to... Oh, sorry about that. We're 100 Things We Learned from Film, the podcast that takes a different subject movie each week and tries to learn 100 things. Hence the funny title. I'm Mark.
And I'm John, and my favourite thing I've learned so far is that chickens have pea crystals. What's yours?
Quite. Do you know the mosquito in the original Jurassic Park is the only type of mosquito that doesn't actually suck blood? So in this case, no blood, no dinosaurs, no film.
So that's us, 100 Things We've Learned from Film. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts every Monday.
Welcome back to another episode of VHS Gems, the Geek Elite Media podcast, in which we watch those movies of not even ye olden times, but like of the times of our youth, I guess.
From the long, long ago.
From the long, long ago, but not the long, long, long ago. Yeah, those movies that came out on VHS. Doy. But, and we watch them again and see if they're worth all the nostalgia or not, basically. And today, I am joined with John.
Hello.
And I am myself, Jessica. And that wasn't weird to say at all. But we are watching Xanadu, which it was really hard for me to not sing that, so I'm very impressed. I absolutely love the Xanadu song outside of Xanadu, the musical. John, do you watch a lot of musicals?
I think I watch a fair share, although I'm definitely not caught up with musicals. Still haven't caught In the Heights. Have not seen La La Land yet.
Whoa.
There's a few others, but I do have a soft spot. I love Moulin Rouge. I don't know if you'd consider that a musical. I have a morbid curiosity for cats, so I'll get to it eventually, but it's not on my high priority list. And yeah, I like those old Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly, Ginger Rogers, Singing in the Rain type stuff.
Yeah.
There's something about those productions, they really just wanted to go all out.
Oh yeah, they're like those gorgeous, huge sets with their painted backdrops. That I mean, they look like backdrops, but still, it's just the time and the art it took to make that backdrop. Oh, I love old films so much, and Gene Kelly is probably one of my favorites of the old actors. Although he probably was a big jerk in real life because he was super perfectionist. And Gene Kelly is actually in this movie.
Yes, which I didn't remember because I saw this movie. I want to say I've seen it once and it was in passing. It was on TV and I probably flipped through the channels a lot because I found it very boring sometime in the 90s. I'm sure this was when this was. I know that I haven't seen this since the 2000s at all.
This song, yeah.
Yeah, this was practically like a first watch for me, just given how little I remembered from it, except for the skating into the mural towards the end.
That you remembered vividly?
That I remember for some reason. I don't know why. But that scene stuck out to me the most. I was like, okay, yes, I did watch this. Okay, so I just must have blocked it out.
Yeah, I know I had watched this several times because it's Gene Kelly's last film. So I'm sure that was probably a reason why I ended up watching it, and probably for several times because it's Electric Light Orchestra does most of the music for it, and I like them, and I like most of the music in this, but definitely felt like a very new watch for me because I also apparently blanked out a lot of it. Other than I
Yeah.
think I remember Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton's dance that they did to like that. I always remember.
That animation scene, did not remember it at all.
Did not. Probably because I do remember it, but think it's from Thumbelina. That's probably.
See, I was thinking Ferngully for a little bit because they're like flower size. But then they turn into fish, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah. Well, the animation styles. Well, okay, this film came out in 1981. Probably should say that. Xanadu came out in 1981 with Gene Kelly and Olivia Newton-John and some guy who played Sonny, and I don't remember his name. But
the guy from The Warriors.
Okay, that guy, Ben. And it's a musical, kind of, because, I mean, basically Olivia Newton-John does most of the singing in it, and which makes sense because it's a story of an artist who awakens the 9 muses, and Olivia Newton-John is one of them, and her job is to open up or convince Gene Kelly's character and Sonny to open up Xanadu, a club, basically. That's her job. And that's
a club that covers like the last like 4 decades, apparently.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. A club that represents all music and all wonderful things and dancing and stuff like that. It's a club that you can go to escape the real world, I guess. I don't know. It looked kind of weird, but it worked. Kind of. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you could say it's some kind of a like fantasy epic musical is what they're trying to go for, with a little touch of the modern. I should have remembered, or I guess it should have made the connection sooner, because you start off with what I think is the Universal logo, the black and white Earth with the little like airplane spinning around it.
Yeah.
But then it modernizes and it becomes like a Concorde jet, and then eventually it becomes a UFO. I was like, what's going on here? And I was like,
what are we doing?
oh, okay. It makes sense later, because it's like, we're like paying homage to like the passing of time and the eras that came before and the modernization. And I guess, it's it does some interesting things for being 1980 or 81. It seems like it could have taken place a little bit later in the 80s. But that could also just been they were predicting like the punk and the glam movements that would come later.
Yeah, well, because punk was like, it was kind of starting to start in the early 80s, but it hit it big in like mid 80s to late 80s, right?
No, by that point it started turning into like the other genres. Like you started getting more goth, and you have your Bauhauses and your Susie and the Banshees kind of start to come from that. So yeah, I think by the mid 80s, punk was, at least in its original form, was pretty much gone. And then it started getting the vestiges of like the post-punk, which would later turn into things like grunge and alternative.
Okay.
And
well, I honestly thought it was an 80s creation. I had no idea punk was earlier than that. Wait.
Oh yeah, punk was like...
Is the Ramones a punk band?
Yes, they were one of the progenitors, actually. There's a cool movie, CBGB's, that kind of covers the history of punk and the guy who kind of accidentally helped start it, and which basically took place around like 75, 76.
Okay.
With, bands like the Ramones, the Sex Pistols, and a few others.
See, that's where I get confused, because I didn't listen to punk till later on in my life did I start getting into punk, and I listened to the Ramones and the Sex Pistols, and I had no idea they were bands from the 70s. I literally thought they were 90s bands, like just in my head, just listening to them. Like this couldn't have come out of the 70s.
Well, yeah, because that's what those 90s bands were basing or like being influenced by. So you got a lot of the 3-chord power chord progressions. Yes, all that
makes sense.
Music history is pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a fun tangent. I like that tangent.
So I will say this. So I liked the experimental use of music in this movie.
Yeah.
I liked the story in the movie.
Yeah.
I liked Olivia Newton-John in the movie. I had a huge crush on Olivia Newton-John growing up.
Who did it? She's gorgeous.
There was a summer where I had two VHS movies that I ended up watching just every day.
Uh-huh.
I had The English Patient and I had the 20th anniversary of Grease on
Yeah.
VHS. I would watch both of those every day because I had nothing else to watch that summer. I didn't have cable that summer. I think it was maybe my first semester of college. So this was like 98 or 99. Yeah, I loved Olivia Newton-John. And it was the 20th anniversary release of Grease.
Mhm.
So it came with a miniature copy of the script for the movie,
Ooh.
which was interesting because I was trying to follow along with it, and there was a lot of stuff that was either changed or cut out drastically from the movie.
Yeah.
That beginning sequence where Danny, Zuko, and Sandy are like frolicking in the sand and playing on the beach, there was a lot more dialogue. And it was
Yeah.
dumb dialogue.
Was it dumb?
It was really dumb, yes. Like, Danny at some point gets really serious with Sandy and says, there's something I have to tell you, but I'm ashamed. And she was like, oh, you can tell me anything, Danny, blah, 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 whatever. And the whole thing was him leading up to admitting that he was left-handed the whole time. He'd been using his right, like, willfully to, like, not seem, like, different or something like that. I was like, wow, good choice cutting that out, director. Like, that was stupid. Also, I didn't realize this, but the character of Jan's the one that's always eating Twinkies, right?
I think so, yeah. You would
Yes.
know more because you apparently watched it significantly more than I have.
I mean, it's been a while since that summer, but yeah. So apparently, she was supposed to be overweight. That's why she's always wearing like loose clothing and sweats and like sweaters and stuff.
Yeah.
And her big transformation was that at the end of the movie, she was supposed to take them all off, and she was going to be thin. And that was her character arc, is that she lost weight during the school year.
Good for her.
I'm also glad they also kind of. It was really bizarre because they're always like it. Now I notice it, but at first, like, yeah, they're always showing her eating snacks or like eating Twinkies, and like she always gets like a big meal at the
Yeah.
at the diner, but they ended up giving that to Sandy instead, and she can eat just as much as Danny, which impresses him.
Yeah.
Which, side note, they also took away from the Kinnicky. They took away Grease Lightning from him to give it to Danny Zuko because they wanted to give like some big moments to the main stars instead of the side characters who they had originally had them in the actual musical. But yeah, we're going on some real weird asides here. But
You just went on 3 different side notes.
yeah. Well, you know what? Let's throw in a fourth, one more.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember if this is true or not because I didn't bother looking it up, but I could almost swear that there was a news story in the late 90s, right around this time, as a matter of fact, where Olivia Newton-John reported her husband fell over a boat or like, went overboard, I guess.
Uh-huh.
And it turned out that the man that they had just gotten married, I believe, he was faking his death.
He was trying to fake his death?
Yes.
Oh, and it didn't work.
I don't know because I think they caught him. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, he's here." Like, and
That's weird.
I may be misremembering that and really butchering that from my memory, but I just seem to vaguely remember that Olivia Newton-John's brand new husband like faked his death for some reason.
I see.
And I was like, who would do that for poor Olivia Newton-John? She seems like such a sweetheart.
I mean, we don't know how these people are in real life. We shouldn't just assume they're like their characters. But
yeah, I guess. I do see an article here from The Independent in the UK. It says Olivia Newton-John's former boyfriend found in Mexico after going missing for 12 years. Okay, so it wasn't her husband. And yeah, looking at the picture, that's the one. Yeah, this was an article from 2017, so it was actually in the mid 2000s that this happened, around 2005.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm saying that wrong. Close enough, though. Yeah. Apparently, I don't know what. Maybe she was just a really bad person. He was like, screw this. I'm going to just pretend to die.
I mean, maybe there are other reasons too, and like she couldn't prevent him from making the choice that he made. Maybe
True.
it wasn't her. Maybe it was outside things, and
He must have been a spy or something, and like this was to get off the
he's
grid.
super spy. Who was that actor that thought he was actually a spy?
Oh, from Confessions of a Dangerous Mind.
Yeah, he was an
Yeah,
actor, right?
he was. Well, he was like a game show host.
Yeah, that's what it is, a
Um,
game show host. But he
yeah, he
actually
was
thought he was a spy.
Barry something.
Yeah, maybe
Barry.
he's like that guy. Something.
He was just supremely delusional.
Yeah. But yeah, back to Xanadu. 1981, Gene Kelly's last film, as I said before. And the main reason why this was his last film, or why he was even in it was filmed like a very short drive from his Beverly Hills house. And
Oh.
yeah, another fun fact about it is Gene Kelly's character name, Danny McGuire, is a character he'd played before. I mean, not that had the same name before in the film called CoverGirl.
Mm.
So he's played a Danny McGuire twice, I guess, if that makes any sense. Not
Okay.
the same Danny, but he just played two different characters that had the same name.
You could say that he might have been a variant of Danny McGuire.
It's a variant of Danny McGuire. Yeah. Well, I mean, when he played Danny McGuire in CoverGirl, that was in what, the 40s or 50s? I don't know when CoverGirl came out. So, I mean, it could be this is the older Danny McGuire from CoverGirl. Yeah, because CoverGirl, CoverGirl came out in 1944. So
this is the Danny McGuire that faked his death and moved to Mexico.
Yeah, there you go. And there's a very not interesting, like he has a dance sequence with Olivia Newton-John that I mentioned, and this is where you get like, although I like Gene Kelly, he probably was really weird and probably a jerk, because when they filmed it, which they filmed it after the initial filming too, and added it in later, I think is what I read on trivia, and he insisted it was just the two of them and a cameraman that he had become friends with. That was it, that were involved. But he basically, I think he choreographed everything and all that. But when it came to actually filming it, it was just the two of them and then a cameraman.
Yeah, he seems like he'd be that kind of a control freak.
Yeah. I feel like there's a story about Gene Kelly making somebody, I think it's on Singing in the Rain, the main actress on Singing in the Rain. She wasn't a wonderful dancer. She was a great singer, but not the best dancer. And like he would make her like redo, and like basically overworked her in order to get that perfect vision that he wanted in it.
I could see that. There's definitely some people in Hollywood that take that kind of thing to extremes. I've heard the horror stories of Stanley Kubrick making Shelley, is it Shelley Duvall or Shelley Long? I forget which Shelley it is, but the one that's in The Shining, like she started losing her hair with how much he was stressing her out.
Yeah, I mean, I get it to a point, because if it's like you're directing it and it's your baby, like you want it to come out as perfect as you see it in your head, and if the actor's not doing it, then you want to push them to get there, but you don't want to be abusive about it. Like there's absolutely no reason to be abusive. Just cut, do it again another day, or maybe maybe it's not working because it's dumb. Like maybe you should maybe you should take a look at it and realize it's not working because it's not realistic to work that way,
Maybe it's like the whiplash thing though, where like the person who's the driving force feels like they just have to push someone to their limits to get that, true performance out of them.
I have yet to see Whiplash because of that one scene that is all over the internet all the time. I mean, the acting in it is utterly amazing in that one scene, but that scene gets my anxiety up so much that I'm like,
You
I
mean
don't think I could ever actually watch this movie. Like,
where he throws the chair at him?
yeah, he throws the chair at him because
Okay.
he's slightly offbeat, like slightly.
Yeah, he keeps like just
Rushing.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you this. That was probably one of the most stressful movies I've ever sat through. It was
Yeah,
amazing to watch, but yeah, like it's not a fun rewatch because it's just you feel like such paternal pressure and disappointment coming from him, or maybe that's just me and I'm projecting, but it's just very like wow. And the whole there's a really strong father issue or father theme in it because his real father is actually like, for lack of a better word, just very like soft, I guess.
Okay.
And
Soft.
yes. Like basically encourages him to like, you know, not pursue. He's like, well, maybe you're not cut out for, you know, being a musician, and like, you know, there's more important things. Don't worry about it. Like,
Oh,
whereas the instructor is more like he sees the potential in him, but for some reason he just feels like in order to really get him to be his best, he also needs to kind of slightly traumatize him.
yeah, I guess. I mean, that is also basically what the military does to infantry troops when they're in basic. So
Yeah, because they're going to war. I mean, you have
gotta
to.
break somebody down.
Yeah,
build
this
them
is
up.
like really unnecessary to do this like to somebody. But it's a great movie, regardless. Yeah, you will be stressed out though. Like that movie, Irreversible, is another one that's just really hard to rewatch because of just how brutal it can be in like specific part where it's just like, yeah, I can't do this again to myself. Like, why?
Yeah. All right. But
This movie, on the other hand,
this Xanadu movie. Wait,
you know what?
you're not doing the thing that I did for that one stupid movie you made me watch.
Oh wow, you have to narrow that down a bit.
The one with the page ripping and the
Oh,
demons.
okay.
That
In
one.
the Mouth of Madness.
In the
No,
Mouth of Madness.
I'm not trying
You're
to
not
to like
just
like,
run on tangents and tangents like I did.
no.
Okay.
I actually see the thing about this movie is that I think the movie as a whole sucks. It is a terrible movie.
It's a terrible movie.
But there's these little bits and pieces that work, but
Yeah.
only like if you were to make music videos of this movie, that would probably work. As a concept album, this works.
Yeah.
As a movie, it's just very lacking, and I don't know what that is. It could be weak directing. It could be a pacing issue. It
I
could
think
be
it's
that.
a pacing issue because this is only an hour and a half,
Yeah, it was
and
really
a lot of stuff happens in it.
yeah. We get introduced to Greek mythology apparently, and that just kind of like gets blown
but-
over.
Yeah. Well, hey, she's a muse, daughter of Zeus. Cool. My biggest issue with it is that a lot of it doesn't make sense because so the beginning part is Sunny. He's trying out art. He's trying to make a living off of just doing art, and he sucks, I guess. I thought his art was fine, but I guess for the time he sucks.
Well, he wasn't feeling inspired. He didn't want to be doing commercial work, which is what he was doing.
Yeah.
But what he was trying to come up with wasn't like to his satisfaction, so he was frustrated.
Yeah, and he goes and tears it up, blows it into the mural of the Nine Muses, and they come alive. They come alive, and
you can't help yourself.
Yeah, I know I can't. This music is good in it. They come alive, and then they shoot off, and then the main muse, our main character, Olivia Newton-John's, what did she call herself? Kira. Well, that's what she goes by. She's actually Terpsichore, which is the muse of dance.
Sure.
She runs into him, and then you find out her quest is to open up Xanadu. But my biggest issue with it was like his problem as an artist was painting. Like he wanted to be a painter, and his muse that he falls in love with gets him to open a club. Like it just makes zero sense to me.
Like, how do you go from art to like disco, roller disco.
Yeah, why wasn't Kira the muse of art? Which I can't quite remember which one is the muse of art.
Could that
But
be Minerva?
still. Is it Minerva?
I don't know. Anyway, could do I could do a little stalling while you quickly Google search it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what exactly even wakes up the muses? Because it's just a mural that's painted in some random alley in, like, I guess the beach, near the beach, and he ends up, like, I guess the pages just kind of float through town, and then they end up near this mural, and that is what causes the muses to wake up. They all come out, start roller discoing through the city.
As one does in the early 80s.
Yes. And then I will say this, for a movie that was probably somewhat low budget, it had some ambitious special effects that looked about on par with, like, the Power Rangers from the 90s,
Mhm.
with a lot of these colorful streak effects and glowing effects on them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so Olivia Newton-John's character is just kind of strolling through town, runs into him in, I guess, by the beach again, or looks like it was a park by the beach. He kind of, I guess, falls in love at first sight, and then sees her again later on an album art that he's being commissioned to make a larger copy of, because that's what he does. He makes larger versions of record cover art for music stores. That's like
Which
a very
sounds like a
specific,
great gig, I guess. Like,
I mean, yeah, if you can get it.
Yeah.
There's this. So this is basically functioning on, like, fantasy logic, but it has very specific details about, like, the music industry.
well, yeah, but then, like, and I think that leads to one of the biggest issues with why this movie doesn't work that well, is that it's a fantasy story set in the modern world, which can happen, but the way they try to make it fantasy is with these very cheesy effects and overlays and transitions.
Yeah.
That's how they make it fantasy. It's I mean, other than your main character's muse, like, she could actually not be so cheesy with her magic. Like, and it makes a disconnect to it, because I think this film might have needed to be filmed like 10 years later, where the effects actually would look not chintzy, I guess. Not that they look horrible for the time, but it's just it's very disco, and disco is very hit or miss.
And by this point, disco was, like, out. Like, it pretty much peaked in, like, 78 with, like, when Saturday Night Fever came out, it, like, it was, like, burned out, basically.
Well, when did Kiss do their disco album? That's when it died, right?
I think it was 1980, yeah. The
Yeah.
Kiss
Whoever
Alive,
Kiss
I
did it,
think.
and they went, okay, we can be done with this now. I do have an answer about the muse, and it's because there is not a muse of art. It's mainly poetry, flutes and music. I did read somewhere that there was a play made out of this. I want to say the play came after this movie, and it's more of a satire to this movie, and they use Cleo, which is the muse of history, over Terpsichore, the muse of dance. So
Yeah, 1979 was the Dynasty album by Kiss, which, by the way, I'm representing right now.
Oh, hey.
What's this? Is Destroyer? I think? Yep. So when they were still good, if you even consider them ever being that.
And they're hit or miss with me. They got a few good songs.
I will say this though: if Mitch doesn't surprise everybody at his wedding by serenading the song "Beth," I will be greatly disappointed.
Maybe that's why he wants karaoke at the wedding so bad. And Elizabeth and I are looking at him like, are you nuts? Like,
say, what's happening here?
Karaoke at a wedding? Nobody wants to hear that. Like, people barely want to hear karaoke at a karaoke bar.
This is true. This is a good point. But this is all just one big, like, workaround to be able to, like, perform this song.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That would be nice to see and hilarious. I do like the idea of that. So The animated sequence was also added in later as well because they wanted
too short.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it really would have been too short, but they wanted to use another song by ELO, and it's easier to just animate it than not. And the reason why I think it's from Thumbelina is because it actually is done by the guy who does Thumbelina, the animator.
It was Don Bluth.
Yep, it was Don Bluth. So
Which I think also does Ferngully, doesn't he?
I do not know. You could.
Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, directed by so and so. Oh, Samantha Mathis was Ferngully. That was Princess Daisy from Super Mario Brothers.
Ah, who knew?
But no, I don't see his
He
name
did
on
Anastasia.
it. He did do Anastasia. That one was cool.
Wait, what else did he do?
Both of these movies have Robin Williams, as a matter of fact.
Secrets of NIMH. He did the Secrets of NIMH. Hey,
Oh yeah.
there we go.
Also did like the Fievel Goes West movies and All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Rockadoodle. That's on our list, by the way. Rockadoodle.
Rockadoodle. I like that movie. It's so stupid.
Space
It's got an
Case.
Elvis Presley rooster.
Oh, the Pebble and the Penguin. I haven't seen that in forever. Okay, we gotta stop. I gotta stop looking at these movies. I love these. Okay.
I don't blame you. All of these are better than Xanadu.
All right, so that's basically Xanadu. He falls in love with the muse, and then he runs into Danny McGuire, and Danny McGuire is talking about opening a nightclub, and Kira ends up helping Sunny to convince Danny to open up the nightclub. And then now that she's done her job, and now that Sunny has fully fallen in love with her, and she's fallen in love with him, now her job's done, so she's got to go back to wherever the muses live. With Zeus, and Sunny gets really upset. And he does the whole, that's where you get the, I'm just gonna skate right into this wall and pop up in laser light land.
Yeah.
Yeah. And talk to Zeus and her mom, Nemone.
Which technically should have been Hera, but was
No.
somebody else.
It's not Hera. Hera is not, okay. Zeus is a playa, and he had many a kid with many a different woman. He had the muses with, I always butcher her name, Mimoni. Okay, I can't say it, and I totally looked it up before, and I still can't say it.
It's not that important.
But yeah, it's not important, but it's gonna bug me. But she's basically memory and remembrance. So she was one of the Titans. Hera was his wife, yes, but Zeus had other relations.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
he
Because he also ate Athena's mom was a Titan, and he ate her, and then Athena popped out of his head.
Yes, I remember that part.
And then he had a bunch of demigods as well with a bunch of human women.
See, in the credits, it doesn't even say Zeus or whoever. It just says Heavenly Voice Male and Heavenly Voice Female.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it doesn't even name them.
Oh, it names them on the Wikipedia page for the movie. So
Oh, okay.
that, and I think she says it's Zeus. I'm the daughter of Zeus.
Yeah, and he even says, "Hey Zeus, I want to talk to you about your daughter."
Yeah.
And but for some reason they're being coy on IMDb and like not wanting to spell it out.
That's weird. I don't know how IMDb goes by it. Like maybe they weren't credited. I didn't watch the credits as the movie ended, so maybe he's credited as that in the movie.
I think they're just I think IMDb is just like kept up like Wikipedia. Like anybody can go in and just type whatever. So
Oh, really? I had no idea how IMDb works.
there's like 100 people listed as Xanadu dancer. Who knows if they're right?
So, but yeah, he runs in, tries to convince Zeus, and Zeus seemingly not convinced, but Kara gets to come back to make one final performance and then beams away yet again, but then comes back as a waitress. I guess. The end. They kiss in a silhouette and the end. And Xanadu plays in the background. It's great.
That's gonna be stuck in my head.
I can't sing it too much because I'll probably get copyrighted, but
We'll sing it off key, and then it'll also be kind of funny too.
excuse me, I can't intentionally sing off key. So yeah, there's Xanadu. I see, the funny thing is I'm watching it and I'm like, this is a bad movie. This is a bad movie. But I remember liking it. And I even still I'm like, yeah, I'll watch it again. Like I don't hate it. It's not good. It's like it's not quite at its level, but it actually honestly really reminds me of Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
If you really watch Rocky Horror, it is a bad movie.
Yeah.
But it's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
It's just
And this is definitely a good song. Like, there's like certain movies that I like to call party movies where you're not really putting it on to sit down and watch it. It's just like background.
yeah.
But because it's got those certain moments, it will eventually make you kind of just turn your glance at it
Yeah.
and like, oh yeah, that's kind of crazy how they're doing that laser light show. And then you go back to your thing, and like nothing's missed, nothing's wasted, and it's part of the environment.
Yeah. I mean, like that scene with the 1940s dancers combining with the 1980s rockers, which was a really interesting and kind of sort of sexually aggressive scene. I was like, wait, is that woman being tied up to something right now?
Yeah, they were like doing some pretend bondage with like the synth cables and that one lady, and then the big band when they started going more into like the swing music.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, did that guy almost drop that woman? Like she rolled really fast towards the ground.
Oh, yeah.
I was like,
Swing
wow.
is nuts.
So yeah, like so I hate dancing. I'm not I can't move anything below my neck with any kind of rhythm. Like my head's pretty good, like but everything below the neck is like I'm just completely uncoordinated.
Well,
I got like
you're Latino though. That's possible.
You know what? There's some stereotypes that are just unjustly applied. I don't like spicy food. I don't.
Oh, you don't? I just realized. Yeah, you never eat spicy food.
Yes. What's another one? I think tortillas are dumb. I was like, why am I shoving flat flour into my mouth right now with this food?
Like flour tortillas, but corn tortillas are life. Come on.
When eating carne asada tacos, sure, but like for like because tortillas in this culture are like sides, like they're supposed to go with everything, or at least they make you eat them with everything.
Yeah, it's bread. Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm not down for that. I'm like, no, I mean, I it's just to fill your stomach. Why even?
I'm down with any carb, so I would understand that.
That being said, no, I hate dancing. It looks awful on me. I think it's just because I'm so lanky. Like it just looks awkward and weird. Like
honestly, swing probably would be the dance for you though, because if you look at actual swing dancers, they're pretty tall, lanky men. Like
I can Charleston like nobody's business. But like just so anything that's a little bit more modern, where people look like they're just effortlessly, like whatever doing their hitch dancing.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look right for me.
Okay.
It just I don't know. But watching people dance is fascinating to me because it's like, I wonder how they do that. Like that's pretty cool. And the way that Fred Astaire moves, even though that he's definitely up in his years by this point.
You mean Gene Kelly?
Oh, Gene Kelly, yes.
Don't get those two confused.
Yeah, but still, the way that he dances, like he just seems so light on his feet.
Gorgeous, yeah.
Yeah, like it looks so effortless, and of course that comes from just years and years of doing this, and probably the aforementioned perfectionism.
Yeah. He
but I
floats.
just like,
That's what he
man,
does.
he
Always
does.
floats. That's why I always like his films, because he has a way of using space within his sets. I mean, you see it in Singing in the Rain, and the song Singing in the Rain. He just goes all over that set. But there's another one. Oh, have you
Which-
ever seen An American in Paris?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
Add that one to your musical list, because that is like a classic Gene Kelly one, and it ends. Which you haven't seen La La Land, but La La Land pulled a lot from it. But it ends with this really epic dance sequence that's like really over the top artistic, kind of sort of like that middle sequence in Singing in the Rain. That seems to not make sense, where Gene Kelly's character is just reminiscing over what the opening act or what he's going to do next or something. And it's that scene with that lady in the green dress and she's got the cigar and the gangster boyfriend, that whole scene. It's like that, but like way more. It's just a beautifully choreographed Jane Kelly dancing through all these sequences, just like, oh, mwah. It's just beautiful. Add that to your list, because I mean, it probably did eventually come out on VHS, but not originally on VHS.
It's well, it has to be streaming somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it is.
But yeah, so there's a lot to it. It's a fascinating piece of performance, I want to say, in general. Towards the end, they start to incorporate some pretty kooky costuming.
It's very Art Deco. The
Yes.
costuming and the set works.
Yeah,
especially
the
within
location
Xanadu
itself. Yeah.
It's super Art Deco, but I feel like it doesn't go Art Deco enough. That to me,
No.
like, and maybe that's where the disconnect.
Yeah, I would
is.
agree. It's just like you have like the Art Deco like arches in the front, and then outside the building. Inside, it just kind of looks like a hodgepodge with like a UFO landing pad in the center, and like the different corners that represent the different ages of dance or music, I guess.
Yeah, and then the big circled turning dance floor that the muses dance on
Yeah.
as well. And you're just like, what is happening here?
This is one of those. Well, I'd like to think that this was probably the product of a lot of cocaine in this late 70s, early 80s,
Probably.
where they're just like, let's just write a movie, do all the drugs, and then worry about it later. Apparently, the movie bombed like terribly. Like, this movie.
You think? But yeah, but the music did really well. The music was on Billboard Top Chart.
the soundtrack actually went double platinum, but this is my favorite fun fact I learned about this movie. Xanadu was the inspiration for the Razzies.
Yes, I saw that. Xanadu and one other film that came out that was really bad at the same time too. Can't remember what it was though.
Yeah, there was another one. No, I was gonna say Ishtar, but that came a little bit later. Yeah, so it's funny to think that something was so bad that it created its own award ceremony to honor bad films. And this movie was most definitely bad. It was badly acted, just badly directed. I would argue badly written. And yet I don't hate it.
It's very badly written.
There's just something about it that is kind of endearing. It's like if your friend made an awful film, you would like still hate it, but like there'd still be some kind of charm to it.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of some things that kind of made me realize, like, oh, it's possible to kind of change how you feel about something. So when the movie Hot Rod came out, that was the one with Andy Samberg, where he's like a stunt motorcycle.
Yeah. Cool Whip. Yes.
Yeah, Cool Whip. What? So when that movie came out, we went to go watch it. It was myself, Franny, who also does podcasting here with Geek Elite, and Mitch. We all wanted to walk out of this movie at some point. I think it was during the Cool Beans part when we all just.
Hot Rod? Are you crazy?
Yes.
You guys don't like it?
Well, so this is where it comes around, because I think it was Franny who went to the bathroom, and he was sitting between me and Mitch, and so when he came back, the Cool Beans part had just ended. And I was just sitting there with my hand on my face going, oh my God, what the fuck am I watching right now? Because I was, this was new humor to me. I hadn't really been exposed to the Lonely Islands brand of humor at this point. I just thought this was going to be a comedy and like maybe like a goofball comedy, but this really took it to like a whole nother level.
Yes.
So Franny came back and he asked me, hey, what did I miss? And I was like, don't ask. And he was like, okay, that was weird. So he asked Mitch, he's like, hey, what did I miss? And he was like, don't ask. Without even just exactly the same answer. He was like,
you
what
guys should have just done Cool Beans right there in between.
So here's where things changed. I didn't walk out of the movie. I stuck with it, but I really hated it. It wasn't until, I don't know, maybe a couple of years later when I started getting exposed to more of the Lonely Islands actual music.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay, this is funny. I get this. So I realized...
Sorry.
Are you singing Dick in a Box?
Yes.
I saw you doing the steps. So I was like, that's gotta be... That's the way you do it.
Okay.
So I came back to Hot Rod later, and all of a sudden it was a completely different movie to me. Because now I felt like I was watching a Friends movie as opposed to just a movie by a bunch of assholes. And it really just made a big difference. Now I can actually like watch it, and it's funny now. Like I like some of the dumb things that happen in it. The Cool Beans no longer bothers me because I really like Jorma Taccone.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
Yeah, and like he was the main reason why I watched Land of the Lost, which I thought was going to be a really stupid movie. It was, but it was also stupidly funny.
It is ridiculously funny. Actually, it was on TV the other day. I watched it for a little bit, and I was like, "This movie is
Like
so
one of the
funny."
funniest parts of the movie wasn't even a part that was played for laughs. I mean, it is played for laughs, but like it's a serious scene within the movie where what was his monkey character's name? I can't remember off the top of my head now. But he's basically going into like this really like morbid monologue in this little alien language about how awful the hallucinations are going to be for like the drug that they just took.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't stop laughing during the part to the point where I couldn't even hear what they were saying anymore. I had to like rewind it just because his delivery was so perfect.
Yeah.
And this is the Cool Beans guy.
Yep.
So, you know, like it definitely like there's certain things that can change your perspective, I guess. And this is one of those movies where it definitely feels like even though I should hate it fundamentally, I guess just because of the different parts in it that do work for me, I was like, it's just enough for me to give it a pass.
All right. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I still look back on it fondly, but yeah, I was watching it. I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a bad movie. But it's one of those, I like the songs from it. So if it's like if you take it as a collection of music videos, like you kind of mentioned before, then it actually really works very well. It's just not cohesive. And I did think that I heard that Olivia Newton-John said that they were writing it as they were filming it. It wasn't like the script was even complete, which would kind of
tell
perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah, this definitely feels like something they just kind of like improvised.
Yeah. Because there like is no full circle. I think that's what it is. Like if it ended with him like selling his paintings, maybe then it would have made a bit more sense that she was the muse for him. But I guess she wasn't quite the muse for him.
Or like if it just turned out to be like an allegory and like this was like the self-realization that he should pursue his own like interest instead of working for, you know, that jerk of a boss that he had.
No, he's just gonna pursue that immortal muse. It's like he's gonna pursue. That's
Apparently.
it. That's what his dream changes into bargaining with Zeus to be with the immortal woman that he loves. And that for whatever reason she loves him.
Yeah, they talk about like, didn't you learn in mortal studies that having feelings can like whatever? It's like, wow.
I like the muse is like, I have feelings now.
You know, it reminded me
have feelings.
It reminded me a little bit of Mannequin.
Yeah, it's a lot like Mannequin, actually.
Yeah.
There's
One of
even
these
a
days.
mannequin dance in it, kind of. I don't know.
Yeah, kinda, yeah. You almost have. That's what this movie needed. You needed a sassy like clerk that had like the funky glasses, the
Yeah, that is
oddly
true.
shaped sunglasses.
You needed just some people going, "What is happening? Like, why is this happening?" Like he said, okay, one of my favorite random lines, not even favorite, it's just there's this random line where Gene Kelly character Danny McGuire, where he's talking on the phone about opening night for Xanadu, and he's like, "And no celebrities are going to be there, just a bunch of normal people." But then it cuts
Nope.
to the actual opening night, and you're like, these people are professional people. Like, there's no normal person in this building right
Yeah,
now.
there was nothing normal about this.
No.
And I felt it was just slightly pandering where you get this whole montage sequence of costume changes and
Mhm.
you eventually end up with Gene Kelly just wearing like some ridiculous like pink cyberpunk cowboy outfit at one point. I don't
Yeah.
remember how to describe it. Like,
Yep.
You're too good for this, Gene Kelly. Why are you doing this?
Because it's only like a couple blocks from his Beverly Hills mansion.
Like this was on his evening walk that probably.
Yeah, probably. He's like, fine, whatever, I guess. But
And
I'm
for
going to throw in
catering,
my
so
own nice choreographed dance in this as
there you
well
go.
with Olivia
That's
Newton-John, because that's what I do. I gotta dance with the lead female.
he's just got to dance. Yeah,
He's just gotta dance. A gorgeous dance. The best dance of the whole thing, honestly. But
it was pretty good. Yeah, I have to say that's probably the one I liked the most.
yeah. I mean, I want to kind of sort of like the last dance to the Xanadu song, and then she cuts through a bunch of genres, but it's okay.
Some of those punks gave me some like Wheeler vibes from Return to Oz too.
Oh,
They were just a little too close to that.
I forgot about that movie. Now
yeah.
I remember it.
Hey, and there was a character named TikTok that somehow didn't become the mascot for that web app.
Right. Yeah, right. TikTok, you're slacking. You need to get TikTok.
You got to wind them up for talking and wind them up for walking.
And
And
wind
thinking.
them up for brain and thinking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for thinking.
For thinking.
That's why he has 3 little cranks on him.
Yeah. So that's pretty much Xanadu. So let me see. What drugs do you need to be on? No, just kidding. But I don't want to do the cocktail one because I honestly have no brain to think of cocktail concoctions. So
No, alcohol doesn't really go with this one. This has to be something more, I think, inhaley.
more inhaley.
Something you have to kind of breathe in a little
Okay.
bit more.
All right, there.
I would say, and plus also something that gives you energy to like keep up with all these dance moves, and maybe like feel that you can walk through like murals, like just jump right into them. Ironically, I think there is a term for a drug that will get you to where this movie needs you to be, and it has the street name of angel dust.
Yep. That'll probably do it.
Side note,
I don't think I
Geekly
need
Media
it.
does not endorse any use of illegal materials.
Side note, we don't endorse this, but like, if you want to kind of sort of get there, like you can just watch this movie sober, and you're gonna feel like you did take drugs.
Pretty much, yeah. That's. I think this was what Jodorowsky was going for when he tried to make his Dune.
Oh my god, I'm so glad that man did not get to make his Dune.
The world is poorer for it. That could have been great.
It's not.
It would have had
been
Pink
horrible.
Floyd.
It would. Okay, that would have been the only good thing from that. I was like, well, I would have had Pink Floyd, like a whole new awesome Pink Floyd album.
Hey, when is that supposed to come out? Wasn't that supposed to be out this summer?
October.
Ah,
I can't remember exactly what date. Yeah, they keep pushing it back. I'm very annoyed.
man. But I was gonna say, well, at least full circle, we finally got Pink Floyd and a Dune thing with the trailer. At least I don't know about the movie itself. Wait, and Pink Floyd was also used in Doctor Strange, so Pink Floyd is in the Marvel Universe.
It was used in Doctor Strange?
Yeah, in that psychedelic sequence when he's traveling through the different dimensions. When
Yeah. It's
yeah,
been a
I
while
think
since I watched it.
yeah. Well, I mean, just YouTube that sequence and you'll see
Okay,
it.
fine.
I think they're playing Astronomy Domini,
Oh, okay.
which is not. It doesn't have any lyrics. It's just like spacey sound effects,
Yeah.
basically.
Alrighty.
Yeah. So I mean, I just don't really have a lot more to say about Xanadu. It's okay.
Okay, question time. Question time. What would you have done differently? Like, what would have made, like, if there was like one thing you could change that like really needs to change, what would it be?
I think I would have gotten a better singer to play Sunny.
Thank you. Why is it that? Not that he had a lot of singing. I would have gotten just a plain straight better actor to play Sunny.
Yeah.
Just somebody I could give a crap about. He is very much a Luke Skywalker character, and the fact that he just whines about everything in his life.
Yeah, and he's a pretty boy.
You're just like, just shut up. Shut up, Luke. Shut up. Shut up, Sonny. Gosh. I don't know. That still to this day drives me nuts that Mark Hamill was like, Luke would never give up and hide on an island. I was like, Luke whined the entire time he was saving the universe. Of course he would do that.
Yeah, it's the only problem with that is that we don't see how he ended up that way. We just see him that way. Like
it wouldn't have taken a lot. Would not have taken a lot.
Yeah,
the guy literally saved the universe and still was like, "Huh? What do you mean I'm not good, Dagobah. I can't do it, Yoda." And even after, he was a little whiny in the last movie.
You know, they just weren't well written. That's all. It's just. I don't know.
It's all about Leia. Leia saved the universe, not Luke.
I mean, honestly, there is a certain way you can look at it where it's like, yeah, she kind of was more instrumental. Like Luke was just at the right place at the right time, but she was making shit happen.
Yeah, she really was. Luke's just the one that gets all the credit, because he's the one that's the man.
Man, I hope we're starting to see those first sparks of rebellion in the Bad Batch. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna be like they could totally work in a young Leia going to like her first Senate meeting with Bail Organa, and like you could see the spark in her eye of like, ooh, I'm gonna become a career politician someday or something.
Okay, Leia is literally like not even 1 year old right now in the Bad Batch.
Oh, there'll be like a time jump, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably till the next season. But yes, I did read the Leia. Okay, we are going. It is my mistake. I mentioned Star Wars. I'm so sorry, audience. I made the mistake of mentioning Star Wars. That always makes us go down a very, very deep and long rabbit hole. But yeah, I feel like, yes, so for changes, I would have changed definitely the actor for Sunny, but I think another major change that needs to happen is work on the transitions. Like, they were way too cheesy. Like, you didn't have to do it to make it feel fantasy. We know it's fantasy because she's a muse. That's all you need. Like, it didn't have to be a fantasy element by making the transitions weird. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much. Xanadu. Do you think this was like kind of the last lead role for Olivia Newton-John, wasn't it?
I believe so. I can't think of anything else that she was in during the 80s. Except for like, well, I think she was trying to pursue her music career because she did have that one album, and the Let's Get Physical song came out like in the early 80s. She did keep working on stuff, but like I'm just kind of looking real briefly. In the 80s, it's mostly just like music video stuff. Yeah. Like Two of a Kind, which came out in 83, was like one of the last big things. Yeah,
Huh.
she's
Yeah, that's
having the
about it.
baby. She was
Yeah.
uncredited and she's having a baby, so it's not even like a big role.
Huh.
And yeah, for pretty much most of the 80s, she was like just not really in the movie business.
Nope. Well, I think this was supposed to help not launch her career because I feel like Grace kind of did that, but it was supposed to help her career like move somewhere, and it flopped so hard
They're
that
like, nope,
yeah, Olivia
she's not
Newton-John
bankable.
and Gene Kelly couldn't save this movie, unfortunately. I feel kind of sad that this is Gene Kelly's last movie. Actually, I'm like, oof.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like a noteworthy performance at all compared to, the work he did in the 40s and 50s.
Hmm.
But then again, like throughout the 60s and 70s, I think he also kind of just had like a big lull in his career.
Yeah.
It could have just been like, hey, let's just give it one big, last hurrah. And it's kind of like Raul Julia's last movie being Street Fighter. It's like, it wasn't the movie you want to go out on, but it's there.
It's that movie. That's the movie.
That should be a gem.
Street Fighter?
Yeah.
I don't remember when it came out.
94?
I guess it does qualify then.
Although I did see it in the theaters.
Isn't it supposed to be really bad?
It is really bad, yes. But it's like, see, the same with Xanadu, even though they are really bad movies, somehow they do attain that cult status because of the nostalgia or because they have certain things that are just good enough. That they do end up having a second life as, cult favorites. Like Donnie Darko is a movie that I really enjoy, but it was a flop.
Yeah.
And some people think it's pretentious, but I just think there's something about it that works, and a lot of people really identify with it, like a little too much in some cases. I just think it works really well for like basically a guy's first movie, like his director debut. Another one kind of similar in that same sense is the Boondock Saints.
Yeah.
Troy
That one was a
Duffy.
flop.
Yeah, that was Troy Duffy's first movie, and there's a really excellent documentary about the making of Boondock Saints, where you see what kind of an egomaniac the director was, where like it just went straight to his head that he was making a Hollywood movie, and it was his first movie, and he got some good talent into it. Yeah, like this guy is a like massive a-hole, but it's fascinating to watch it,
I believe it.
like from the outside. And yeah, so I don't know if it's some movies, for better or worse, attain cult status. Their quality is definitely debatable, but they have something that makes them persist.
It's the song Magic that Olivia Newton-John sings. And Xanadu.
That's what it is.
That is said
Nailed
way
it.
too many times. That one. That's what it is. Just some last minute things I think to mention. This was based off of an older movie as well.
Casablanca.
No,
Just kidding.
Casablanca. And I totally lost what it was. And I lost the place it was at. Okay. It was the film Down to Earth from 1947, in which it's the same muse comes down to Earth. But in that case, it's dealing with a producer of stage plays. But it's, Terpsichore goes down to Earth basically because she's mad about how this stage producer is making a play that insults muses and calls them like basically little hussies, I guess. And so she comes down to, I kind of really want to watch it, so I don't want to read too much about the plot, but that had Rita Hayworth and Larry Parks. Ooh. And that was cool. And yeah, I think I already mentioned that the Xanadu album you mentioned it went double platinum. So the songs from it, really great. Electric Light Orchestra did most of the songs. It's a musical, but also like Olivia Newton-John is basically the one that does most of the singing, and Gene Kelly. Sonny doesn't sing a lot, which is kind of sort of thankful. And then the rest is basically an electric light orchestra music video where the songs are in the background and people are dancing to them. And then the one animated movie sequence actually is really pretty, but
Yeah, and you can tell that it's Electrolyte Orchestra because they just can't not sound like themselves.
no, they cannot. So, anyways, Xanadu, 1981. All right. John, if anybody wanted to get in contact with you for how much you love the Bad Batch.
Which is surprising, by the way. I can't stress it enough. I did not go into it thinking I would like this show, and it's actually very interesting. You can @ me on Twitter. I am @MagicBollocks.
You can @ me as J.M. Bailey Writes on Twitter. You can find archives of this podcast and other podcasts on our website, geekelymedia.com. You can also find us as @geekelymedia on Twitter and Instagram and facebook.com/geekelymedia. We do also have a Patreon page, so if you have some extra cash lying around and you'd like to give it to us, we will totally take it from you. And to thank you for that, I know, give us the money. No, to thank you for that, we would give you a lot of exclusive content and behind the scenes stuff and early access to podcasts and stuff like that on our Patreon.
I have
page.
offered lewds, but they're not taking me up on it.
No, we don't want to scare the money away.
This is true. Well, maybe they can put me in charge of the Geek Elite OnlyFans page. I can run that one.
Oh my gosh. OnlyFans, man. Moving on. Another awesome way to help us out is to like us and subscribe to us wherever you are listening to us, whatever podcatcher you use. Yeah, please, that does a lot. It does a lot more than just listening, I have learned. And because I am one of those people that never likes anything that I actually like. I never like hit that like button or even subscribe, really. I just always search for stuff. And now I'm like, okay, no, you need to do that because it actually is important for the algorithms. So yeah, be sure to just at least please hit that like button. But until then, at us if you have any other VHS recommendations because I'm starting to run out. Could you please also give us some good ones? Like, these bad movies are starting to melt my brain.
No more Krulls or In the Mouth of Madnesses.
no more Krulls or that. But yeah, send us those recommendations. And also, always remember to geek out.
This concludes our broadcast. Beep.